And we're recording. So I want to welcome attendees as you're coming in. Welcome to the Stafford Hamlet meeting. I am Katie Wilson. I'm the Clackamas County Staff Liaison for the Hamlet program. And you will see on the screen your board members. As you come in, you'll want to familiarize yourself with the tools of Zoom if you haven't done this before. We will ask you if you have something to say after the presentation. We'll have some public comment and question time. We want you to use the raise your hand feature, and you can find that either in the lower portion of your screen or the very top of your screen, depending on the type of device you're using to access the meeting. And you'll see that you don't show up on the screen, but we do see that you're here and you are welcome to speak during the public comment and question time. So if you use the raise your hand feature, we'll invite you up to speak. Again, if you are coming into this meeting, we want to encourage you to find the raise your hand feature. If you haven't been in a Zoom meeting, we'd like you to utilize that during the public comment or question time. And we'll call on you in the order that you raise your hands. So again, welcome to the Stafford Hamlet meeting. I'm Katie Wilson, the Clackamas County Staff Liaison for the Hamlet program.
Thanks, Katie. I'm Bill Mart, Chair of the Stafford Hamlet. Tonight, our community meeting portion is directed towards information for people that would choose to get involved with the Hamlet and or the CPO. And we've gathered some folks together that that have shown interest. We had the town hall in February and in March and had a number of folks sign up, which now seems like a half a lifetime ago. But we're hoping that some of those folks will attend tonight, and we've had contact with some of them outside of this venue. So Patty Manula is gonna, who's been instrumental in reaching out to potential volunteers, is gonna go through a PowerPoint that she and John Keith put together, and you will get some information about what's available, what the Hamlet does, and I'll turn it over to Patty now. Thanks, Patty.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm happy to know that. All right, so Katie was going to put the PowerPoint presentation up. Katie Kreider.
Hi, Patty. It looks like I'm not able to do that.
Oh.
When I try to share my screen, it says host has disabled attendee screen sharing.
Oh, okay. That might have something to do with, does that have?
I just fixed it, Katie. You should be able to do it.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, great. This is perfect. So I am not exactly sure who is participating, but I did send out emails to people who had said they were interested, and I've also sent this PowerPoint presentation out to them as well. So this might be just old news for some of you, but I'm just going to go through what some of the volunteer opportunities are for any Hamlet residents to get involved with the Hamlet. And I think the second one there is what's at stake, Katie. I think you skipped over one, perhaps, maybe?
Nope.
Or, oh no, sorry, the agenda, sorry. So the agenda is introductions, which I just did, what's at stake, blah, 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 how you can play a role. And then I'm just gonna briefly touch on these different opportunities for you to volunteer. And then we'll just wait and have questions at the end. So if there's any questions that you have about this, we'll do either the raised hand or the chat. And these opportunities are not the be all and the end all. I'm sure there's other things that you might have talents in that you could offer to us, but these are some things that we see some immediate needs for. So moving on to the what's at stake, this is really outlining why we need your help. That we need help from the residents of the Hamlet community to ensure that your perspectives are heard and to influence future decision making, and to let you know that we've already had requests from Tualatin for Lake Oswego and West Lynn to engage in letting them know about areas of interest for future development. The Westland Wilsonville School Board is planning for 24,000 future dwelling units in the Stafford Basin, which among other things will increase taxes. Then we're also faced with the I-205 widening and the potential tolling. And we've had information from different sources, but basically the cost of infrastructure build out in the Hamlet is around 2.7 billion. So I think the next slide is the draft of the community vision plan. And this is what we drafted that we were actually going to vote on, I believe in April. That was when we had originally planned to have a vote. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later. It looks like we're going to be doing that vote in January. But this is really, really where we need help with our residents, is to let everybody in the Hamlet know about this updated community vision plan, what it is, and to get people involved and out to vote on this when the vote comes up. I don't think I'm going to read through this right now. I think this is available on our website, but I will read through the goals. Our goals will target residents' wishes to enact best practices that safeguard clean air and groundwater, maintain our secure and serene environment, minimize additional traffic and infrastructure impacts, educate regional communities and Hamlet members about the area's heritage and potential, and expand small farm possibilities. Okay, so among the opportunities for you all, the first one would be, Katie, do you want to go on to board members? The next slide is board member. And I don't see, there we go. Thank you. So you, we have 10 on the board. There's actually right now we don't have 10, but if we ideally had our board all full, we would have 10. We elect 5 each year, and the board members serve for 2 years, and a board member must live in, let's see here. Let's see, a board member must live or own property within the Hamlet boundaries. They can be a homeowner, property owner, or renter, and a diverse board is our goal. We welcome all applicants who want to serve their community. So we're always looking for interested and involved board members. Then the next slide has to do with CPO, which is the Community Planning Organization. And for the CPO, right now we have really one person who's taking care of all the CPO responsibilities. We are looking for at least 2 to 4 more people to help us out with the CPO board. And these people, the board is notified about land use plans in the area, which is really, really important. And it's important for all of us to know about this, but only the CPO members are the first ones that find out about it. So the responsibilities include reviewing applications and writing and then commenting actually going before the county planning department in the days when you could do that. So surely that'll come back someday. Disseminating information to the community about proposed projects and applications. And the CPO members attend the Hamlet meeting, which is the second Tuesday of each month. Then the next thing that we have is we have a real need for people to inform their neighbors. So we're calling this neighborhood captains. And I think we outlined that we need 15 because we broke it down to 15 different neighborhoods. But basically we're looking for people to actually physically go to their neighbors or to contact their neighbors by email or by phone, and to let them know of something that's going on or an action that needs their attention. Okay, let's move on. A lot of you probably are maybe kind of already doing some of this on your own. So the next volunteer thing that we need are city council liaisons. And we need these for Lake Oswego, Tualatin, and West Lynn. And these volunteers will attend virtually or in person, again, whenever that happens, the respective city council meetings and their work sessions. And the work sessions generally happen before the city council meetings. And they have 2 city council meetings a month, which is why we're really looking for 2, because this is a pretty big time commitment. The reason that we are looking for people to be there is to listen for information that is pertinent to or affects the hamlet. Agendas are published ahead of time. So you could look through that, find out if they are planning to talk about something having to do with the hamlet. And then we might occasionally ask the volunteer to submit comments or to speak to the hamlet to let us know about something that they've learned at these city council meetings. And then similarly, we're looking for somebody to do that with the Westland Wilsonville School District. We want somebody to sit in and attend the board meetings and the work sessions. Again, to listen for information that is pertinent to or affects the hamlet. And I believe, if I have this right, their board meets once a month. So, they could meet for a fairly long time, but this is a once a month commitment. I don't know if they record their meetings. I know they're probably live streaming them right now, but the city councils record their meetings, so these can be done after the fact as well. Then we're also looking for, let's go to the next one, the Stafford Hamlet Student Board Representative. So we're eager to add a high school student to our board who will give us the ear of the youth perspective. The volunteer is invited to provide feedback during the board meeting about ways that we might engage younger residents. And we're asking this student to choose one of the committees that they would serve on as well. Then we're also, next slide, Katie. We're also always in need of help with our website. This would involve updating the Hamlet website occasionally with direction from the communication committee, and the current website is on the WordPress platform, so the person would definitely need to know WordPress. And then where we always need lots and lots of volunteers is the Family Fest. And this is unfortunate that we weren't able to have our Family Fest this year, because this is such a great way for people to dip their feet into the hamlet and start getting involved. The Family Fest happens every September, except for this year. And we need many, many people to carry out the event. In addition, we have town hall and other events where volunteers could be a big help. The Family Fest is where I first started getting totally involved, even though I've lived here for a long time. So, I was involved in 2 Family Fests, and then I got roped into being on the board. So there you go. You'll love it. The next thing we need help with is the newsletter. We do, and mostly I think Jana is the one who does this, create and sends a bi-monthly newsletter on behalf of the Hamlet. So this information could be provided to the volunteer, and the volunteer could go ahead and send this out via MailChimp or question mark. I don't know what the other.
The or was be willing to be trained in it, because it's not hard.
That's it. Okay. You want to learn MailChimp, then you want to volunteer for this position. There you go. Social media, this volunteer would use Instagram and Facebook to post relevant information and community messages. Again, this is something that we would train and advise somebody on. And then, let's see, this isn't last. This is almost last. So the communications committee, this would just be joining the existing communications committee to work on communications projects for the Hamlet. And there's a constant need for that. And as we have to communicate by Zoom, this has become more and more challenging. So we really need a lot of people to help us with that. And the very last one is the Hamlet Futuring Committee. So we're looking for, it looks like any number of people, to at least 5, to undertake a group review of the scenarios and strategies from the Portland State University master's students in urban planning. They put together a wonderful report for us, very, very detailed. And we need a committee to look over these recommendations and to suggest to us what our next steps would be. I think that's about it. Oh, no, if you're interested, contact me or Bill, and our emails and phones are up here. And did we have an individual or group orientation to be arranged in September? I guess we do. Yes. And we're going to, if you're interested, you would be assigned to a board member to help with whatever it is that you're interested in. Okay, great. Any questions, any comments, any feedback?
So we want to encourage folks to raise their hand if they have a question or a comment.
Sure. I
don't have anyone with their hand raised. Are there any questions or comments out there?
Wait, there's a chat here. Oh. Okay.
Okay, well, it doesn't look like there's any questions or comments, but we want to encourage folks, if you think of something else, to please email the Hamlet and we'll make sure to get your questions answered.
Yes, and if you're interested in any of these and want more information, you can call me or email me, or if there's something that sounds like it might interest you, but you're not really sure about it, just get in touch with me and we can talk about it. Okay? Oh, wait, there is something here. It says, will you post the opportunities to the website? I think they are on the website.
They are, and I will get the link and I'll pop it into the chat.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think it is on the website currently. I think this actual PowerPoint presentation is on the website. Is that right, Jana? Yeah, maybe. Okay. If not,
Sorry, I was muted. Yes.
yeah. So, so that would have all the detail on there, including what I didn't read, you know, with the PowerPoint, which is the time commitment, the distancing, and, you know, some more of the detail about the job. But, you know, you can always make it your own too. So, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Patty.
Patty, for doing that, and John for putting it together with you. So it's rather unheard of in our history to be ahead of schedule, but anything is possible. I don't think I saw Len's name here, so I'm assuming, unless I can't see some of the folks, that he has not joined us. Is that?
I think Len might be here as an attendee and not as a panelist. Len, are you here?
I think that's his cousin or brother, Lee.
Oh, okay, a different Shelber. Okay.
It's always a mystery. Okay, well, to that point, we do have some updated information in and around the CPO. As Patty mentioned, we're going to have elections. Katie Wilson will maybe give us more information on that when we get to the board meeting. But we have not had elections for CPO board for a number of years. Len and previous to Len, Walt Gamble had done it together, and I think Walt maybe even preceded Len. So it's time to kind of recharge those batteries a little bit and get some more folks interested. To that end, one of the things that has made quite an impact is the Willamette United Football Club. I guess it's in the appeal process now, but it was granted. They were granted their sports field and building application conditional use. And if John, I think, is on here, if you'll unmute and maybe give us the latest, John, on where we are in that process and what we've got coming up as it relates to our next month.
Sure. So the Keep Borland Rural Group asked the Land Use Board of Appeals to take a look at the decision to approve the sports field. That was remanded back to the county, and so right now, September 1st, several responses were sent in concerning the interpretation that a multi-sport, multi-dimensional operation is allowable in RRFF5. And so the first step was to have the planning director review that initial determination. And as I mentioned, there were submissions of information and facts sent to the county. We're not sure when the decision is going to be made, but they've already set up an appeal date for October 15th because they expect either party will want to appeal the decision. So we're not sure where that's going to go, but there's also a court case at the Court of Appeals. So Willamette United folks took two separate tracks, one appealing the county decision and the other one to go through the legal process to the appeals court. And I don't have any information about when, if anything, scheduled on that end. Bill, back to you.
Thanks, John. So next month, we're going to hear at our CPO portion of our meeting where this exactly stands, and there'll be an opportunity for folks from both sides of the aisle to speak to that. Hopefully we'll have a fact-based discussion, but there is, as John mentioned, the Keep Portland Rural group, which was essentially formed in response to this, is pretty active in trying to get this decision reheard. I don't know of any other thing Len made, but barring Len showing up, I don't know of any other appeals or any other conditional use applications that are in front of us or in front of the planning department at this time. So,
Hey, Bill.
yes,
I got two things real quick, if I can.
sure.
One is the David Marks appeal to the three-way IGA with LCDC. That's going to be coming up the 24th and 25th, I believe, is the commission's hearing on that, or their decision on that. The final agenda has not been posted yet, but as soon as that does, I think it supposedly you have like 7 or 10 days, something like that, before that they have to post it. So that'll be coming up shortly. And also the 29th of September at 7 p.m. is the Metro UGB hearing for Lusher Farm, being the 82 acres to be taken into the UGB. And at some point in time, I reached out to Ivan Anderholm, who's the Parks and Rec director, to try to see if they would like to meet with the Hamlet to kind of just really present what's going to be going on in the whole Lusher area, between the pool, the and rec center going in at the golf course. They're redoing the golf course. They've got in the long range plans, there's 2 more fields going in next to Hazelia Field up by the dog parks. There's 2 fields going in to the northwest corner of the roundabout. And then there's a lot of other different reconfiguration things that are going on at Lusher Farm. So talk with Bill today a little bit about trying to get a joint session with them to really just kind of see where they see the future going of the area up here. Some of us are a little scared about how much they're trying to cram in out here. And just think it would be good to kind of get everybody up to speed, because if you took what we're looking at with the Willamette United and what the city's doing, the city outweighs what the United or Willamette United is doing in that area. So anyway, long term, but those are the 2 things. Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome, Rick. That was Rick Cook. His name is up there for us. I don't know if everybody can see that. Very active in the Hamlet, has been a board member and a past chair, and serves on other community boards at this time as well, and always has good ideas. Thanks, Rick. So I'm going to move on then to the Hamlet.
Yes. It looks like Lynn is here.
Get out.
Yeah.
There he is. Skulking in. I don't see Len, but I see his name.
Well, he has to unmute to talk to you.
Len, are you there?
Come on, buddy.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute, but I have. Okay, I think I am. Okay. What's the living?
Okay, so Len, we just got an update on the Willamette United. I don't know how much of this you heard. So update. Okay, Rick talked about Lesher and the David Marks appeal to LCDC. Gave those 2 dates. I don't have anything else that I was aware of that you might have gotten either in the mail or email from the planning department about any conditional use applications. Are there any?
No, nothing like that.
Okay. And do you have any other, is there any updates on the ones that were either in process or had gone back for some sort of re-examination?
Just a little bit of email traffic on the Willamette United, but I think that's probably you're clear with that.
Huh. Okay, I couldn't catch much of that, Lynn, but yeah. So
Well, nothing new as far as Willamette United at this point.
right. Okay. Yeah, and I think the only other thing that we mentioned before you got on was the fact that we're going to have CPO elections with the assumption that somebody will in fact run again, and that certainly can be you or whomever, and we'll try to combine that with our board elections and our CVP vote. So. Other than that, then I'm going to move on, Lynn, unless you have something else to the board meeting. Okay, moving on to the board meeting. So our recording secretary, Kate Roth, can duly note that we're starting this at about 7:30. We have an agenda which I think was in part of what Katie Kreider had previously, and that can be put up on the screen if possibly. Crickets. Katie Kreider? Okay, so we have an agenda which all of our board members have received, and you, the viewing attending public, would be allowed to see if we know how to put that up. Do we have any dramatic changes to the agenda, or can we approve the agenda as written? Motion to approve the agenda?
Aye.
Okay, look at that, Katie Kreider. So we have I think Lynn made a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Jana. And so all those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, aye?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? That's when you want to hear crickets right there. Okay, no opposed. Thanks so much. We're going to move down then to the approval of the minutes. Kate sent out the minutes of both the community meeting and the board meeting. I didn't see anything that I saw, and a lot of it I hadn't remembered, but I didn't see anything there that was in error or was lacking. If there's anybody else that did, this would be the time to raise your hand or make that addition or deletion. Having said that, and not hearing anything from a bunch of folks that have their mutes on, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of both the community meeting and the board meeting as written?
So moved.
Great, thanks, John. And do I have
I second.
Thank you. Okay, so it's been approved or moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the minutes, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Vote aye. Okay, thanks so much, folks. Those are opposed? Nothing. All right, minutes have been approved. Okay, CVP update. So this is where Katie Wilson maybe can give us the latest. I had a chat with her earlier in the month, or I guess at the end of last month, and passed on what she had said at that time, but that's now 10 days or so old. So Katie Wilson, what do you got?
Yeah, so we are working away on your election plan. We received some information that because we are transitioning to a remote voting mechanism, mainly due to COVID. We have to go through a different finance plan to look into that, most likely because there are special dollars set aside for expenses due to COVID. So we're working on that. And as part of that, county leadership has asked us to look into the possibility of us doing it in-house. It would function a lot of the same way, but we, rather than pay for a subscription, we would use the dollars to build something that would be more sustainable and hopefully be a cost savings long run. We anticipate if we do this and it goes well, that we likely won't go back all the way to the old way of doing things. And so we'd like to have a method that works long term and is a sustainable, more cost-effective way to do that. So we're looking into a vote by mail option for the hamlets. This also would make it a lot easier for us to add things to your ballot, like your CVP, like your CPO vote. So we could customize that more easily than doing it through a third party. And it allows us a little more flexibility. Some of the things we're working through is part of the cost savings is utilizing a bulk mail permit. So we'd likely want to ask the hamlets to all do their elections at the same time. We in the past didn't do that because when I had to be in all the meetings in person, that didn't work. But there's cost savings to doing it at the same time if we're doing it remotely. And both for the purposes of administering it and the mailing. So we're working with the other hamlets to get onto the track of January, which was a month that you guys have done your election in the past. Some of the best practices we learned from the election buddy is that November is not a great time because there's so much other election news going on that we don't want to confuse folks with a separate mail-in ballot. And so they recommended either doing it before or after the regular November election. And given our timing now, our process would be that we would have, because we don't know how many voters are in each household, our process would be for us to send out a postcard, similarly to how we've done it in the past, to advertise your election, but we would ask folks to register to vote in the hamlet. And that way I would know how many ballots to send each household. So people could either call in or go online and register with their information. That would allow us to validate if they are residents within the hamlet, which is the rule for them to be able to be voters. They have to own property or live within the hamlet. And then we would send a ballot to them and they would mail it back to us. And I think, so that would be our internal method. So we're working through all of the costs for that and all of the logistics of if we have the resources to do that. And I'm hoping to have an answer for you very shortly. I apologize for it taking so long. There's been so many moving pieces of this that were unforeseen with the way that finance works during COVID and just looking through all of the tools. So I really appreciate all of your patience, and we hope to have an announcement of what tool we recommend and run that by Hamlet leaders before we send anything out in the mail.
Okay, so thanks.
Patty's got a question.
Great.
So when, if this is what we end up doing, where would a voter mails this back in, where does it go?
What do you mean, where does it go?
Where do they mail it to?
Oh,
To the county?
Yeah, to the county. We would force it. We're looking into possibly partnering with the clerk's office on some of the mechanisms that they use for security purposes, but we haven't worked out all the details. We would put a return envelope in the ballot, just the same way your mail-in ballot has right now. So they would get a return envelope and they would put their ballot in there and send it in the same way that you vote by mail for other things in Oregon. But it would not be an official clerk's ballot.
Right. Okay. All right, thanks. Just curious.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to put my hand up.
Go ahead, Bill.
Thanks. So, so it's a parallel track, if I understand this. You're thinking of something in-house that you're going to create, which we've talked about this, scares me not to death, but it scares me plenty in that how long it's taken to get to this point, which is no resolution, and that's a moving piece that is going to be all in-house that you've got to get the horsepower together to produce. But you've also or still have, I mean, the reason we're not doing this until January, obviously, if it's going to be an in-house thing, that may be as early as it's humanly possible to put it together. But you're also looking at
Election Buddy.
Yeah, Election Buddy. Thank you. I knew Buddy was in there. So what I guess I would like, because we've talked about this too, is if we can put this meeting with the other hamlets, so at least you can hear something besides just my and a few of our other board members' takes on this collectively, and maybe you can give us, you know, if that meeting is scheduled, and you know the kind of information that we're going to ask for and the questions that are going to come out, it gives you a bit more power to pull that information together from these folks that you're kind of trying to gather around on the county side, so that the decision can be made. I mean, it feels like everybody needs to be able to focus their energy, and if you focus your energy on something that then we all look at and say that's not a good fit for us, or we see problems here and we see problems there, then we're kind of backtracking. In other words, you're trying to be efficient, we're trying to be efficient. So my request to you is, can we put a date on the calendar? Doesn't need to be right this minute, but you know, maybe by the end of the week, where we can target when we can all sit down as Hamlet, you and whatever other folks on your side of the aisle that can.
Yeah, I mean, what I can tell you is I can't make a commitment tonight to a date for that, but I can check in with my leaders, the folks that I answer to, on where they are in their decision-making process, and what the holdups are on our end, and determine a reasonable date for us all to come together and chat and get that on the calendar. Does that sound good to you, Bill?
That is exactly what I'm after.
Cool.
And the sooner we can do that, I guess the better for everybody.
Absolutely.
That'd be great. Thanks, Katie.
Absolutely.
And thanks for the update.
Of course.
Okay, I think and we do have a date. We don't have a time, but we've got a date for the Clackamas County Commissioners.
Bill, before you announce the date, we had to make a change because they didn't reserve you enough time. So it's October 6th.
Okay.
The next week.
So, see, we do have a date.
We do have a date.
We just didn't have the date that I thought we had. Okay.
They just told me today, sorry.
That's okay. And still in the PM at some point?
It'll be in the morning.
Oh, okay, because the other one was in the PM, so AM.
Oh, I'm sorry, when you said PM, I thought you meant evening. It'll be during the day. I just don't know the exact time, but I can find that out and email you tomorrow.
Okay, that'd be great. And
you'll have 30 minutes.
Okay, so we still have the 30 minutes, great. Anyway, so for the community at large and for the board specifically, this is coming up on October 6th, so we will have an opportunity to share what we've got going and entertain questions from the county commissioners. On to the treasurer's report. Bill Long has been working mightily with like one of those little green visors on in a back room someplace, sorting out. Talk to us, Bill.
Yeah, I can't put a report officially out without a bank statement. And I checked just before we left town, and there was nothing in the box. But my estimate is that we have just over $2,000 in the kitty right now, and that'll be confirmed as soon as we get a bank statement. But I do urge people that are planning on spending some money, please make a requisition out. And with your help, Bill, authorize it. Because our funds are precious. And I'm thinking with the speed at which we had funds transferred to the trust account, we should be able to tap into that fund should we be needing the money within, I would say, Katie, a week to 10 days.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, Bill?
Well, I'm thinking if we needed money out of our trust account,
Oh, yes.
it would be a lot faster than it used to be, a week to 10 days, I'm thinking.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Other than that, that's all I have right now.
Thanks.
The last money from the wine sales at the Family Fest has been transferred to trust.
Great. But you don't have that number even in its roundest sense in front of you at this point. That is the trust.
I had it. Well, it is, a matter of fact. Yeah, I just got back in time. 8907 plus 455 is what we have in the trust,
Okay.
excluding interest.
Right. No, that's great. That's great. So something south of $9,500.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So committee reports, and there's been activity in a lot of the committees. Patty in particular with the volunteer committee. Programming, Jana or John, do either one of you want to say what we've got coming up on the board here?
October, we've got Westland Wilsonville District. Their bond team, I think, is going to be talking about changes that they made to a plan for
We lost you, Jana.
they took that feedback and got together and made some design changes, and so they wanted to present that to us. John, is there anything else?
I don't have anything.
I think also, it's CPO business, but as we said before, we should have more information from the Willamette United folks and where that is and where it's going. But that'll be a CPO venue.
Patty?
Yeah, hey, so you heard from the Westland Wilsonville School District, but it was just in regards to that facility by the Stafford School District, by the Stafford School. And nothing else about any of their bond projects?
I don't believe so, no.
Katie Kreider, I think at least as it relates to the maintenance building, she's had a lot of a lot of contact with that input. Katie?
Right, but I'm just wondering if they want to present at our October meeting, could we possibly get them to update us on some of their other bond projects?
Possibly.
Well,
Go ahead.
We would have, this is Katie Kreider. We would have to obviously speak with them. Prior to that, my understanding is that they've declined to report to us regarding the Dollar Street middle school that is in planning currently. And that's primarily because they've already done significant public outreach via meetings like this, where they presented the whole project in a very progressive kind of way. And they have a very limited budget because they have to pay all of their consultants at each of these meetings that are presenting.
Okay.
So they will not be communicating with us regarding the Dollar Street School. They are happy to come back to us to talk about the storage facility that they're going to be building next to Stafford Primary. And as Bill had mentioned, based on the last meeting, they took our and our letter to them. They took our recommendations to heart. That was a quote. And are going back to the drawing board, so to speak, and will be presenting in October.
Well, congratulations on that. I think that's fantastic. And, you know, small victories for sure.
Exactly.
Well, really, but I mean, I'm pretty curious about the feedback and pushback that they've gotten on the Dollar School, but obviously we're not going to hear from them on that. So
it wouldn't hurt to ask the question when we have them at, you know, in front of us, right?
Well, right.
Maybe they'll reconsider if we give them a personal invitation.
So I had this later on my handwritten portion of the agenda, but thanks to all of you for taking this on in terms of voting and discussing, and for Katie Kreider. And I think Rich was supposed to help you, but since he's not here, we'll give all the credit to you.
Yeah, she gets it.
For following through and getting the response that you did. I mean, I think you all should feel some level of gratification, yeah, for standing up and you know, saying the things that you thought needed to be addressed. Anyway, good job. Rich isn't here for public relations and lobbying. Communications. I don't know if communications has had some back and forth. Obviously, that's one of the areas that we're looking for volunteers to get involved with. Anything I should know, Katie or Patty, in regards to the communication committee?
Well, the communications committee has not met, but if we do, we would be socially distanced on my back deck with masks on, of course. It would all be appropriate and legal. But is this the time to talk about the questions that we would like to present to the people who are running for office?
Sure.
Well, you know, Katie kind of got the ball rolling with this, with the question she put together. Katie, you chime in here. You sent it to Teresa, didn't you? First of all, the person who's running for mayor for Lake Oswego.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't following. I apologize. Actually, I sent my question to all three mayoral candidates for Lake Oswego.
For Lake Oswego, right.
Correct, yeah. And
so keep going. Go ahead.
Oh, I've gotten one formal reply from Joe Buck that was very thoughtful and long. And then I heard back from John Lamont as well. And his reply basically was, thank you so much for your inquiry. You know, I've been quite busy with the campaign. I will get back to you with a more thoughtful response. I have not heard back from what was her? Sorry, now
I can't remember who it is either.
I did attend one of her online open houses, if you will, and she had requested folks to send questions in ahead of time. So I thought it would be addressed because that's when I sent my question to her. but it wasn't. And it felt a little awkward to bring it up because, as you are all aware, we've got so many other pressing issues in our world right now that, you know, to discuss the development of the Stafford Hamlet didn't seem quite appropriate, given all the other questions that came up regarding the pandemic and racial strife, politics, etc. So
Right. Okay.
I held off, but I may take it offline and ask her to respond.
And then Teresa Kohlhoff, I think.
Yes.
What was the question you asked, Katie?
Well, I'll pull it up. I think I copied everyone on it multiple times.
Yes, you did.
But I'll have to.
Thanks for a reminder. Then.
Yeah, let me take a look, and I can read it to you. Just carry on, and I will be right back.
Well, my question here is this something that we want to discuss right now with the whole board, or is this something for us to discuss with the communications committee? Because the idea is that we have talked about basically putting together a series of questions and then posting them on the website. And but we need to, you know, have buy-in from all the candidates, you know, that we can do that. So Bill, do we want to talk about this now, or do we want to talk about this later?
Okay, here's what I think needs to be talked about. We're going to do this.
Okay.
How effective it is, or the kind of feedback we get, that we don't know. But I think the community, that is all the people that you can see out there in the audience, they don't need to listen to us sort out how that's going to occur. I think at this point we've got Katie's question, and I think there were 5 questions that I had put together. John made a change in one of them and made some additions to a couple of others. So it's in the morphing process. Yeah, it's just a function of and Katie Kreider actually in a conversation over the weekend, I think made some really good points, and that is, as important as the questions are, just the fact that the folks that are running for mayor, who obviously their constituents are not per se the Hamlet, but everything that happens around us does affect the Hamlet. So just the fact that we're asking the questions, we're allowing them to give, you know, their feedback with brevity if they choose, or with you know, more extensive comments. That's going to be their choice. But it will, by posting it on our website, and that's something that they need to understand, that's how that's, you know, it's not just, you know, a few private folks getting this. We're going to put this out, you know, and then notify folks that it's out there through the newsletter. This will give people the awareness of where these folks stand and what their perceptions are, even though within the Hamlet they can't vote. Certainly people from outside the Hamlet that can vote for these folks can look on our website as well. So that's how I see it occurring. You okay with that?
That sounds good.
Yeah, I'm fine. So my question is, do you want me to just get the communication committee together and loop you in on it so that we can come up with the questions and all that? So
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Okay, good.
Done and done. Okay, so as Patty noted, the fest isn't happening, and Katie is the chair of the fest this year. And you would have done a great job, Katie, had there benefits. Rich isn't here. Historic wildlife, I'm going to assume that if we haven't had meetings in some of the other committees, that hasn't occurred. Volunteers, we've already got a pretty good dose of where Patty's going with that. The only other thing that really starts to resonate with me is outside of our borders, and that would include Rick, Len, and myself going to the CPO summit. And you know what, Rick, Rick Cook, why don't you run down what you gleaned from Commissioner Savis regarding the I-5 tolling and expansion.
Oh, sure. Make me do all the talking, huh? Well, same thing. It's still up in the air, and they're still in the works. And John could probably do a better job with that piece of it, because I believe they sent a letter out from C4 about I-205. So I'll pass that on to him.
Thanks, Rick. So yeah, the last C4 meeting, there was a presentation about affordable housing, which doesn't yet affect us because we're not part of the city, but they did send a letter to the Oregon Transportation Commission, basically saying that there's any tolling money collected should stay in the area that it was tolled at. And as we've heard from other presentations, it's kind of squishy as to where this money goes. So, but that's, as Rick said, that's the the main thing from the C4 committee.
Thanks, John. So Rick, not letting you off the hook quite so easily. What about CCI? Got anything from those folks that you want to share?
Actually, I'm going to, we have a leaders meeting coming up at some point in time, which Katie is still working on that day. Or do we have a date now, Katie Wilson?
We do have a date. It's October. Let me look at the calendar so I don't lie to you. It looks like October 5th.
7?
Let me look at, it looks like I have too many things open.
Maybe 6:45 or something.
We normally start the community leaders meeting at 6.
Okay. Is it still transportation development?
Yeah, so I did lie to you. It's on October 7th at 6 p.m. and we are focusing on transportation and development. There may be a small update about the climate action plan, but we are focusing on updates from the Department of Transportation and Development. So it looks like there's going to be some long range planning and update about the community road fund. And I'm not sure what else they have up their sleeve, but I have told them there is a time limit. So there's only so much information they can share there. So they're prioritizing.
Right.
Yeah.
And any other pressing thing, Katie, you can think of from CCI?
We're going to have interviews to fill the vacant seats. So we have a few applicants to choose from, and depending on how that process goes, we may have a full board, or we may go out for a recruitment to fill 1 or 2 more seats. So if you have ever been interested in serving on CCI, please let me know. We would love to have you. But we are looking for some fresh perspectives, and I know the CCI members are excited to get going on some annual planning as this year comes to an end, so we can say goodbye to 2020, because I know that's what we all want to do, and say hello to 2021 with some new goals in mind for the community involvement program.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Katie and Rick. So I don't see, unless somebody else has something. The only other thing I have on our list, and Rick kind of touched on this during the CPO portion of this evening, is do we want to have either as a community meeting venue or as a meeting outside of our normal second Tuesday of the month, a sit down with the folks from Parks and Rec, or Lake Oswego in particular, as to how they see Lusher evolving, both on the east and the west side of of Stafford there, given what they're going to do with the rec pool and golf course. Obviously, Rick, living next door to what now will be 2 more new fields, he kind of keeps a close watch on this, and he's reached out to them. But we as a board, need to decide I see the value in it. I guess I should say that up front. Anytime you can have communication with the folks around you, I can't ever see that that's not a good thing. But it isn't going to happen in October if we do it as a board meeting, and November would be the next opportunity. And I don't know what the second where that lines up, but in November, but that would be our next opportunity as I see it. And so that being said, do I hear any feedback from any of you all as to how you see that and the pros and the cons?
Yeah, I definitely think that we need to hear from them, because this impacts the whole community. This impacts whatever they're going to do there, impacts the Stafford Hamlet, impacts West Lynn, it impacts anybody who drives on Stafford Road and McVeigh. So yeah, I think we definitely need to know what the plans are. The question is if you want it to be a separate meeting or if you want it to be like a community meeting, right? Can't hear you.
Yeah, that's because I'm not good with my little button here.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and I mean, speak up, Rick, because Rick gets handed a lot of things to do because Rick goes out and gets them done. And ironically, he expects other people to go out and get things done too. So he's not inclined to put this off. He's more inclined to get it on the calendar and then go do it. So make that case, Rick. But the advantage of doing it not as a board or as a community meeting, but as a separate meeting would be that it could be possibly sooner.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that the things that are happening with the swimming pool, it's a done deal. It's going in at the golf course, along with the rec center. And so that's going to be a big complex. I've called Ivan again today to try to get their feedback on if they'd like to have the meeting or would be willing to come and talk with us. I'm pretty sure they will. And then along with the urban growth boundary hearing coming up on the 29th, I just thought everything's kind of coming to a head, and the sooner we get that out and have an idea about where they're going, because after that, basically, as far as I'm looking at it, the urban growth boundary and the 82 acres, that's a slam dunk. It's going into Lake Oswego because there's nothing that the Metro will look at when it comes to traffic about doing that. That's going to all happen after it's moved into the UGB and annexed, and then it will go through the county and probably through the city, depending on the annexation and all the stuff going in there and how much they want to do beforehand. Because basically, I think the county's kind of looked the other way for some of the things they've done out on Lusher Farm over the last 20 years. So that's why I'm suggesting it's kind of hot in their numbers. They're going to have a new board or council, come January 2. So I think that's another good reason to get this done in the near future.
Okay, so let's be clear about a couple of things, and mostly I think this is agenda related. We're not going to have a say in whether these people put in a rec center and a pool and or change the golf course. I mean, that's their turf. They're going to do what they want. We're
Correct.
not going to even have a say what they do at Lesher. The 82 acres is pretty much all the land that they've acquired now, as I understand it. So it's the initial Lesher, it's the lanes, Fur Lane, and then the stable, and then the next piece east of that. When this was put into the three-way IGA, and they said that they were okay with this annexation, you know, in other words, this wasn't going to have to be something that Lake Oswego had to negotiate with the other two cities. They were planning on doing this. The other two cities said okay with some reservations. It was all 82 of those acres at that time that was included. Is that correct, Rick, as you know it?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, all right. So the reality is all we can do is voice concerns and ask for clarification as to how they're going to mitigate the traffic issues that are going to result from what's going to happen in or around Stafford. At this point, as I understand it, the rest of it is going to stay in some kind of natural setting. I'm sure they've got lots of various plans, but it isn't going to put the traffic load, at least that piece, is going to be pretty much around the roundabout, and even more so on Stafford itself.
And Rosemont.
Oh yeah, but Rosemont to the point where you go into Lesher. Anyway, not to get into the weeds on this thing. All I'm saying is what we can expect from them is clarification, not necessarily change, just an awareness on our part and awareness on their part of our concerns as they move forward with this. Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah, and I would like to think that they would take our input in knowing that it's going to impact the Hamlet first, and then West Lynn, and then Tualatin. So hopefully they'll come to us first, and actually maybe even give us a seat at some of their boards they're doing when they're putting together, project boards.
Well, I mean, anything is possible. If Katie Kreider can get West Lynn Wilsonville schools to come back to the table with a revised plan, then pretty much anything is possible. Okay. So see, I knew you were there, but that was nice. So where do we want to go? Do we want to try to do this then before November per Rick? Do we want to put it at the November meeting? I mean, okay, so I see a no on November from Len. I'm assuming other people have before. So you want to do it before November? Okay.
Wait. So I have a question. Bill?
Yeah.
What was the date for the Metro meeting?
September 29th in the evening at 7 o'clock.
So that's when
It'll be a web thing too. And I tried to look at the web today and it said it wasn't hooked up yet. So as soon as I get that, I will forward it to you.
So that's when they're going to go to Metro and formally ask to have the 82 acres brought into the UGB.
It's the hearing, yes.
Okay.
But understand, at this juncture, there isn't anything that I can imagine that we're going to say that's going to make any difference in that process. I mean, they've gone through hoops ad nauseum. And so, but if you want to do that by or before the 29th, that's 3 weeks. Now, two things have to happen. We have to commit, and the folks in Lake Oswego have to commit.
Well, I'll put forward, if this is something you want to get done, I will hammer on Ivan and say, give me some dates before the 29th for you guys to come out and do something, and then work out if that's what you want to get done.
Okay, well, I guess that's the question in front of the board. So, let's a motion. Shall we make a motion here that we'll try to do something between the 21st and the 29th. I mean, I can't imagine doing this thing in less than, without at least a week or a week's lead time. So in that window, do I have, I guess somebody needs to make the motion because I'm the guy that's going to count the votes. So somebody make a motion. That can't be Rick.
So moved.
So the motion is we go to Rick Cook goes to the city of Lake Oswego with everybody that he knows, and we try to get a meeting specifically with these folks that we then have a Zoom conference. And do we use Lake Oswego's Zoom venue? Do we use ours? Because we got to have Katie Wilson on board with this. Yes, we do. So that's the only other piece. So I guess the motion is something between the 21st and 29th, if at all possible, to sit down with the city of Lake Oswego. A motion and a second. We got a motion. Do we have a second? We got a second from Lynn. And all those in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
I think that was everybody. Katie Kreider, you good with that?
Yes, aye. Aye.
All I could see was your sign waving in the wind there. Okay. Those opposed? All right. So that's our target then. Something between the 21st to 28th, and Rick Cook will make it happen, or won't. And then as soon as I give you dates, first person to go to is Katie Wilson to make sure we can put it together. Okay.
And just one other quick thing, on the bottom of the email I sent out today is like 4 attachments,
Right.
and there was it kind of give you an idea about all the things they're trying to do out here, and once again, even counting the Stevens farmhouse, where it's now going to be a parking lot and trailhead for Stevens Meadow, Cook Butte, and getting on the trail there. So that's just another piece too to it.
All right. No, that was all good stuff. Amazing how much stuff you can pull together in a short period of time. Okay, so if there's anything else that anybody on the board wants to bring up, this would be the time. And if not, then we will adjourn and we will be back in October. And thanks to all of you that sat in with us, and hopefully we'll see some volunteers come out of Patty and John's and everyone else's efforts.
Hey, Bill, just one last question to Katie Wilson. Tomorrow morning with the commissioners, since they didn't meet today, are they going to do a kind of a 2-week catch up for COVID and all the things that have happened since they've been on break? And is that something that there's going to be some information coming on that maybe somebody should listen to?
I would imagine that their agenda's pretty full from being on break, but I will be in a training tomorrow, so I didn't pay super close attention to the agenda. I could take a look at that and email it to you if that would be helpful.
I can pull up the agenda. I just was curious if you knew of anything that was going to be of.
I'm sure they'll get an EOC update. I'm sure it will include something to do with the fire situation that's going on all over the county. So I know the EOC is working double time now to deal with all of those things.
Tell everybody what EOC is, because I don't think everybody knows.
Emergency Operations Center. So they're the ones that provide the report for COVID-19, and they activate anytime there's an emergency declared. So there's been emergency declared for COVID, and there's been emergency declared for the fires. So we are working busily. So I'm sure there will be updates on both of those. Those would probably be really helpful for the community to hear. I know staff is working really hard to get those notifications out via email and social media, and we have the fire update map, the CMAP that's up on the website, and you can follow emergency notifications. I should remind you, are you all signed up for the emergency notifications through the county? Okay, good. No. Okay, I'm going to send the link to the board, and it would be great if you guys shared that on your website. It's the fastest way to stay up to date on things like fire announcements and evacuation notifications, those sort of things. I know that it's thankfully not as dangerous on your guys' side of town, but it is happening everywhere, so it's the easiest way to stay informed.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to shut this down then. Thanks y'all for coming, and have a good evening, and don't get too close to the fires, and stay away from each other. All right. Good night. Thanks.